Russian terrorists didn't attend the second peace summit on Ukraine, just like they skipped the first one in Burgenstock, Switzerland, in mid-June. Russians aren't terrorists, but those who behave like them weren't willing to engage or negotiate despite being offered a platform and options to discuss our peace formula. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Galuzin says, "We know the intentions of the Kyiv regime and its Western curators, apparently 50-plus our allies, to rehabilitate," says Galuzin, for the failed, in his estimation, peace summit in Burgenstock, Switzerland, which took place in mid-June of this year, and to try to hold a similar event, says Galuzin. They heard in Russia. They are imagining something. Someone attacks them. The Kremlin rejects Zelensky's attempt to dictate terms and deliberately ignores other initiatives to resolve the Ukrainian crisis, dismissing them as futile. Galuzin refused such ultimatums, accused Ukraine of corruption, and labeled our peace conference a fraud. This is coming from the representatives of a country that is constantly blackmailing the entire civilized world with nuclear weapons or something else. A country that drops dozens of missiles and drones on our heads every night and bombs playgrounds, cancer hospitals, maternity hospitals, and more. They say that we are the ones who are issuing ultimatums. And Putin, who said on 14th of June that he wants peace, but on the conditions of full occupation of Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson regions, Ukrainian Crimea, and Ukraine's non-accession to NATO. These are his conditions. And they think that this is not an ultimatum. We do not have any ultimatum. The 10 points of the peace formula of Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the Ukrainian people, contain an adequate and logical appeal to the whole world, and most importantly, to Russian terrorists. End the war on our terms, withdraw Russian troops from uninvited territories since 1991, calculate reparations, respect the UN Charter, return over 20,000 illegally abducted Ukrainian children, exchange all prisoners, prevent nuclear blackmail, and deoccupy the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, held since March 2, 2022. There is no ultimatum, because Russia has illegally invaded someone else's land and is committing genocide against someone else's people, not a fraternal people, as they claimed. This has never happened, is not happening, and will not happen. So we have adequate demands, and of course blackmailers have ultimatums, but they traditionally mirror everything from themselves, positioning it as the alleged position of the Kyiv terrorist regime. They've favored peace since childhood, but Dmitry Medvedev, echoing Peskov, said yesterday that Russia will continue working toward fully occupying Ukraine after talks, citing security concerns. Ukraine aims to host a second peace summit with Russia before the upcoming U.S. elections scheduled for November 5th this year. Bloomberg reports we told with Boris Tiesenghausen, a political strategist. Bloomberg reports Kyiv aims to arrange a pre-U.S. election meeting, concerned about Trump's potential return to the White House. The presumptive Republican nominee pledged to end the war by his January inauguration and expressed reluctance for ongoing U.S. military support to Ukraine. According to Bloomberg, a Ukrainian official confirmed plans for a summit before elections. Some Western allies stress a meticulously planned meeting, while some U.S. officials doubt convening a summit with Russia and Ukraine. Bloomberg recalls that on the 9th of July, Zelenskyy, speaking at the Reagan Institute in Washington, called on the U.S. to help organize the second summit to make it more meaningful and truly decisive. NATO Secretary has no doubt that the United States will remain in the alliance even if Trump is elected as the USA president. He said this at a press conference after the meeting of the North Atlantic Council within the framework of the 75th anniversary summit of the North Atlantic Alliance, which is taking place in Washington from 9th to 11th July. Our correspondent host Andriana Kushar is working on the sidelines. We will be the first to inform you about everything, so please follow our broadcast, because today is the final day of the summit. Today is the day of the NATO-Ukraine Council. Live coverage of the NATO Anniversary Summit is now available. Stoltenberg expects that the United States will not withdraw from NATO, as some fear, but will remain a key ally within the alliance. The Secretary General stressed that Trump's decision would be a balanced one, as there are three key reasons for this. The first reason is that having a strong NATO is part of USA's security. The United States will be a strong alliance, uniting 32 states. Russia has no such alliance behind it, and China has no such alliance. Together with other allies, USA will be more economically and militarily powerful. The U.S. is 25% of the world economy, but together with its partners, it is 50% of the world economy. So it is in the U.S. interest to have a strong NATO. The second point is bipartisan support for NATO membership in the USA. Both the Senate and the House agree it's beneficial for the U.S. to maintain a strong alliance. The third reason is that in the past, the main reason for Trump's criticism was not the alliance per se, but the fact that European allies did not invest enough in security. In 2014, only 3 countries invested 2% in NATO. 3 years ago, there were 10 states, and now 23 states meet the 2% requirement, and this number is growing.